What's going on, Washington Commanders Nation? It's your boy Rio Robinson, back with the latest and greatest on the Rambling with Rio YouTube channel, where we ramble about the Washington Commanders. Today is Tuesday, May 9th, and the NFL schedule is set to be released on Thursday, May 11th. It was confirmed yesterday. For some reason, it was not a guarantee that we were going to get the schedule out this week. So mark your calendars for 48 hours from now. The NFL schedule is going to be released, and some of these international and primetime games are going to be released as soon as tomorrow. And you know how it goes. The schedule leakers are going to be out. So be on the watch on social media, Twitter especially, for the schedule leaks and prognostications coming out about the 2023 schedule, which brings me to Washington's 2023 opponents and tiers of those opponents and why I feel there is a path for Washington to get to double-digit wins. They have to make the playoffs this year, period, because so many asses are on the line this season. It's almost like a complete lame duck season, but the team has expectations, and the roster is built to be a playoff football team. Washington suffers from what I call sustained mediocrity, and they've suffered from it the duration of the time Daniel Snyder's owned this team, meaning we are never too good or too bad. We're always right in the middle. It's felt like for the duration of my fan life, we've been in this quicksand of purgatory mediocrity, stuck in the middle, not good enough or bad enough to actually see real change. But I will give Ronald Eugene Rivera some credit. He has built a formidable roster here. He's left the roster in good hands that if he does move on, or the new ownership does move on from him and his staff, the next guy who comes in and takes over for him, he has a pretty good roster to work with, especially if they actually hit on the quarterback, Sam Howell, who the national media is finally catching up to, that the team really believes in. All offseason, Ron and them told the whole world, Sam's our guy. Sam's our guy. We believe in Sam. We're going to give him the opportunity to be QB1. And they've been trying to call Ron's bluff all offseason on the matter. And bluff wasn't called. They didn't draft a guy. They didn't go out and aggressively pursue a Lamar Jackson, a Derek Carr, a Jimmy Garoppolo, or none of the above. They brought in the professional backup guy, like the typecast poster child mentor for a young quarterback, Jacoby Brissett. They brought him in here, and let's call a spade a spade. It's not really a quarterback competition. It is Sam Howell's job to win, lose. He's not losing the job. Sam Howell will be the quarterback unless, God forsake, some injury happens. Knock on wood, because you know we send quarterbacks to the injury report here once, twice, or three times a year here, and we just want to see a good year of quarterback health here in DC. But I'm looking at Washington's opponents for the 2023 season, and there's a lot of ways to look at it. Washington went 8-1 last year. 8 wins, 8 losses, and a stupid-ass tie. That tie made me more upset than any game we played last year, because to me, a tie is a waste of time. A tie is worse than a loss to me. Don't explain me the technical reasons why it's not, because I understand that. But a tie feels like we all wasted a Sunday afternoon for 4 hours watching a sport that didn't happen, because a tie is not finite enough for me. It's not definite. It's like, what did we even do here for 4 hours? But the record could have swung either way, because I look at it and I always bring up the 4 games that could have went from 8-1 to 12-5. You said 12-5. This team ain't won 12 games since 91. How could you see a 12-win season for this team? I look at 4 games. The Vikings game, we're playing a really good team, 1 loss at the time. We had a 10-point lead with 10 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock, and we absolutely threw up on ourselves in the final 10 minutes of the game. The Titans game, we got to the 1-yard line with 4 plays to win the game, not tie the game, to win the game. Word to Herman Edwards. To win the damn game from the 1-yard line. And Scott Turnered. Ron Rivera, the mismanagement of time during that final possession. And he challenged a bullshit catch by Cam Sims that everybody knew wasn't a catch. And Carson did his normal Carson shit and threw a stupid ass pick on a stupid play call on third down to David Long, and we choked on the 1 yard line. 2 games that should have been won. And then the other 2, one was a tie, one was on national TV. Both of the games versus the Giants. We should have won both games versus the Giants. Both of them. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear shit about referees. That call on Terry was bullshit. The Curtis Samuel call at the end of the game, that was also bullshit. Probably should have been called. I don't want to give them that credit, though. I don't like to give referees the power of saying that they determine the outcome of a game. Because when you come off a bye week playing a divisional rival that you played the week before the bye week and that you tied with, you should come off the bye week with some fucking actual formula to success. You played the same team that you played before the bye week, after the bye week, and you come out on national television because the game was flexed to Sunday Night Football in the burgundy on burgundy uniform, and you score 12 points on national TV, and you still have a chance to win, and you threw it away. 2 fumbles. 1 fumble was on their red zone, down 5 in the fourth quarter, and the other fumble gave them points. The score was 17-12. Kayvon Thibodeau scored on a strip sack because he absolutely beat Charles Leno like a drum the entire fucking game when we played the Giants, you know? And those 2 turnovers killed us. The defense only gave up 10 points that night. 10 points at home the defense gave up on Sunday Night Football, and that wasn't enough to win the game because the offense didn't put up shit. Inexcusable. Those 4 games are the difference between going 8-1 and going 12-5. 12-5 is something I've never seen here. It's something I dream about, something that I'll have to believe it to see it. I have to see it to believe it, but you can look at that as a double-edged sword, because just like I see games that we should have won, I also see games that we should have fucking lost as well. So that 8-1 could have also been 4-13 if we keeping it a buck, or let's call it 5-12. 5-12, not 4-13, because I keep discounting that stupid ass tie. But I look at 4 games as well. 4 game sample size for both. The Colts game, Terry McLaurin saved Taylor Heineke. He threw up a prayer, and Terry was there at the pulpit to answer his prayers. We got away with one. The Chicago Bears game, probably the worst nationally televised game I've witnessed in years. And Amazon Prime's probably going to act like that game never happened, because it was just a bad display of football. And we got lucky. We got lucky as hell. We escaped by the hair on our chinny chin, because we did nothing that night. Carson was fucking terrible. He got hurt. Curtis Samuel dropped the touchdown, and we let the Bears get away with a few things. You know, Justin Fields drove their ass down the field a couple times. We got a lucky tipped interception on the goal line, and the final play of that game, Benjamin St. Juste made the play of his life to keep old boy, I believe it was Mooney. No, it was Mooney or St. Brown. I think it was St. Brown. Kept him out of the end zone. We stopped him on like the half-yard line on the final play of the game. Our season was somewhat turned around based on that muffed punt in that game. If that punt was never muffed, we lose that game, and we probably go on to pick top 5 in the draft last year. But we got some momentum after that. That and bum-ass Carson getting hurt and Taylor taking over from there. And the other game, the Falcons game, another game we got lucky in. Luck is a part of football. Luck is a fucking skill, to be perfectly honest with you. Luck matters. Luck definitely matters in this sport, because we got a tipped interception versus the Falcons on the 1 yard line to close the game because they were driving to win. Deron Payne made a play. Kendall Fuller caught the pick. We escaped. So it could have easily been a 5-12 season. Could have easily been a 12-5 season. Those are the ebbs and flows of an NFL season, the emotional roller coaster of ups and downs. And are you able to survive the random, unpredictable things that take place during a season? But I'm looking at Washington's 2023 opponents tiers. And the first tier of team I want to talk about is, at first glance, teams I believe we're better than. The trajectories are probably similar, but I'm going to say 4 teams on this schedule are inferior to us when I look at them. And one of them, you're probably going to say, nah, I don't believe in that because Bill Belichick's their coach. I'm putting the Patriots on this list. The Patriots, the Falcons, the Bears, the Cardinals. Let's start with the Cardinals. The Cardinals are probably going to have the first and second overall pick of the NFL draft next year, if we're calling a spade a spade. Kyler tore his ACL at the end of the season. He's going to probably not play this year, and if he does, he's probably playing around Thanksgiving or some shit. Meaning Colt McCoy and Trace McSorley, I think those are the two quarterbacks starting for them. Wouldn't know, don't care. They're going to be a bad football team this year. The Cardinals, honestly, schedule prognosticators, if you're listening to me speak right now, please send them to FedEx Field week 1 of the season. Send they ass to FedEx Field week 1 of the 2023 season. The first game post Dan Snyder era. I want it to be a fucking party, and I want Colt McCoy bringing his noodle arm ass down to FedEx Field so we can party on them boys, and Sam Howell can have a gimme to start his career. But a gimme is never a gimme with this team because, we always lose a game or two we're supposed to win. We always win a game or two we're supposed to lose. It's always unpredictable when it comes with this team, but everybody's ass is on the line this year, so I'm giving the team the benefit of the doubt. Inferior teams you must beat. I'm looking at this tier. The Cardinals, the Bears, the Falcons, and the Patriots. The Bears, one of the rising teams in the league. A lot of people probably disagree that I have them inferior to Washington because they have an answer at quarterback, or at least we think is an answer in Justin Fields. They spent a bunch of money this offseason. They got a bunch of draft capital for trading out of the first pick, added DJ Moore, Tremaine Edmonds, lineman. They got significantly better this offseason, but I'm not too afraid of a Matt Eberflus team, and we saw how awful the game was when we played them on Thursday night last year. We played devoid of quarterback and still managed to win that game despite producing absolutely dog shit all night versus Chicago. The Falcons, this is the tricky team on this list, not the Patriots, because the Falcons are kind of exactly like us. Our roster's more further along, but they have some young pieces. And just like us, if Desmond Ridder takes a step this year, like we want Sam Howell to take a step, they're in very good hands. And they have the advantage of they play in a dog shit, unpredictable division. There's no lead dog in that division right now. Bryce Young and the Panthers can make noise if Bryce comes out the gate swinging. Derek Carr and the Saints. We don't know what the hell Baker and the Tampa Bay Bucks are, but Brady's gone out of that division. That division's up for grabs, but Desmond Ridder has some young dogs over there. Bijan at running back, Kyle Pitts at tight end, Drake London at receiver. The pieces they got on defense, AJ Terrell, they got some dogs over there. Jesse Bates in the offseason. They went on a spending spree during free agency. I hear you. And they should be a better team. You got to beat this team. These 4 games need to be won. The Patriots, season 3 of McCorkle, Mac Jones. He was awful last year. And that was my guy. Mac Jones, my guy. Really good rookie season. He was ass last year. We need to see what he is this year. His name has been floated in trade conversation and all that good stuff throughout the offseason. But I don't know what the Patriots are at this point. And this is going to be a game I have circled on my schedule because the juxtaposition between Christian Gonzalez and Emmanuel Forbes, because a lot of fans like myself, we all knew and loved Christian Gonzalez and didn't expect him to be on the board at 16. We ended up passing on him for Emmanuel Forbes. So whenever the Patriots show up on the schedule, when we head up to Foxborough, I'll have that game circled and my eyes will be glued on the cornerbacks in that game because Emmanuel Forbes and Christian Gonzalez are 2 names that are going to be linked together for the duration of their career, which takes me to my next tier of opponent, which is worse record than us, but put an asterisk next to it because they suffered unforeseen circumstances. LA Rams and the Denver Broncos, 2 of the biggest, I don't know what the fuck they are, teams on our schedule this year. The Rams lost everything last year. Their holy trinity of superstars, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald, were all significantly hurt and missed the majority of the season. We didn't know what they were. McVay is out here pondering retirement. This man about to take a job to go work for Amazon Prime or some shit, calling games, but then he decided to come back. I don't know what this team is. I have no idea what this team is, but they were fucking terrible last year. But they were terrible because 3 excellent top of the league players were not in the lineup. So do we really count them as a bad team? Yeah, they had a worse record than us, but I'm not sure I want to call the Rams a bad team yet, but they're a team that we need to be taking care of business. They're in the NFC, so we definitely got to beat them when they show up on the schedule. And then there's the Denver Broncos. The 2022 Denver Broncos, one day there's going to be a 30 for 30 documentary about what the fuck happened to Russell Wilson last year, because Russell Wilson had one of those strangest seasons I've ever seen. It was like watching the movie Space Jam after the aliens took the superstars' power from them, because he looked abysmal. Like, if there's anything I can recognize in 4K as a football fan, it's bad quarterbacking, because I'm used to it and it's all I've seen in Washington for 95% of my life as a fan. He was fucking terrible. Like, Russ was worse than our 2 quarterbacks were last year. He was worse than Heineke and Wentz, and Heineke and Wentz were like the 35th and 37th ranked quarterback in the league last year, not even ranked in the top 32 with the other starters in the league. Russ was that bad, bro. He was fucking terrible, despite the fact that their defense was elite, top-notch, and really didn't give up shit all season. They still couldn't win because Nathaniel Hackett was a joke of a head coach, and Russell Wilson was a shell of himself, an embarrassment. Broncos country, let's not ride, because last year there was nothing rolling or riding about what was happening with that team, which moves me to the next opponent tier. Similar trajectory, but they're definitely better than us, and nobody's going to mistake us for being better than either of these teams. The New York Jets and the Seattle Seahawks. The New York Jets are one of the more interesting teams in all of the NFL now, because Mr. Interesting, Mr. Narcissistic himself is now the quarterback of the New York Jets. Broadway Rodgers, the team that's most likely going to be on Hard Knocks, sheds a tear because I wanted Washington to be on Hard Knocks, but the team we're competing with for Hard Knocks, the New York Jets and the Seattle Seahawks. The Jets are going to make some noise in the AFC, and they better make some noise. The way that New York media is, and the way that team looked devoid of quarterback last year, a decent quarterback looks like he wins 10 games with that team last year. They have Aaron Rodgers now, who is 39 going on 40. This is going to be his 40-year-old season, but Rodgers is still a fucking dog, and Rodgers went on the stretch last year where he still looked like one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the league, and Green Bay almost squeaked out a playoff spot despite being ass for majority of the season last year. They're going to be an interesting team to watch. And I'm excited to see that game too, because I want to see 2 guys that will all also be compared and linked to each other. Garrett Wilson and Jahan Dotson, 2 first-round picks from last year's receiving crop that of ballers. All of these guys absolutely lit it up off rip this first round of receivers of the 2022 draft. They've been killing it. And then there's the Seattle Seahawks. Like I said, similar trajectory, but they're definitely further along, and their head coach in front office, their GM, John Snyder and Pete Carroll, they're some of the best at what they do. John Snyder is probably the best drafting general manager that exists. Like, these guys always hit it out the park. They always manage to find more compensation. They definitely won the Russell Wilson trade thus far. And they just got even better this offseason, adding Jackson and Jigba and Devin Witherspoon. They're building Legion of Boom 2.0 there. That's going to be a very interesting game when we go up to Seattle. It's always fun to see us go up to Seattle too, because the environment of that stadium, it's beautiful, man. They do football very well in Seattle. Get that fucking city a basketball team again. But the Jets and the Seahawks conclude my tier of similar trajectory, but yeah, they better than us, but which takes us to clearly superior teams. And I'm not counting the division, because we know one of the teams in the division is clearly superior than us, arguably more than one, but we're going to talk about the NFC Beast last. Yes, the NFC Beast and not the NFC Least, because the division is back up. What Stringer Bell say? Tell them that we back up. You know, the NFC East is out here killing it. We're not talking about them right now, though. Clearly superior teams, the San Francisco 49ers, the Bills, the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, it's subjective because we don't know what Tua's health situation is going to be like. But when Tua was intact last year and when that boy's in rhythm, the Dolphins look pretty unbeatable. And what made me really believe in Mike McDaniel as a head coach is watching the way that they fared versus the Buffalo Bills in the first round of the playoffs last year. They went out there with Skylar Thompson. First of all, I don't know who the fuck Skylar Thompson is, but it felt like they pulled him off the street. They drafted him like the 6th or 7th round last year, but they put him for like his first legit start or second legit start, one of the two. I don't know. But versus the Buffalo Bills in a playoff game, and they should have won the game. They were right there neck and neck with Buffalo. Buffalo just turned into a different team when the playoffs start, and that's the next team we can talk about. Buffalo Bills, regular season animals. They're like the Atlanta Hawks of the regular season of years past that would win 60-something games but never get anything done once the playoffs start. Josh Allen, they just added Dalton Kincaid. Josh Allen's going to be in the MVP conversation again. Clear superior team, and they're getting a new stadium before we do, and they don't really need one, and they're not putting a fucking roof on it because competitive advantage. Don't get me started with that. I think that's really stupid, but shout out to them. The Bills, definitely better than us. The Dolphins, definitely better than us, and a team that we hung in with for a couple quarters last year, but definitely better than us, but we don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be like because all their quarterbacks got hurt last year to the point that they had to play the NFC Championship without a quarterback. We had to watch Christian McCaffrey throwing passes and shit out of the backfield. The San Francisco 49ers, a team that went 11-1 after acquiring Christian McCaffrey. A team that we can hang in there with, especially with better quarterback play, but another team that when you look at the schedule, they're one of the 3 or 4 teams that you look at off rip and say are superior to Washington, which brings us to the NFC East. Washington finished last in a division where everybody had a winning record. The Giants won 9, the Cowboys won 12, the Eagles won 14 games last year and outplayed the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And they only got better this offseason. The Giants making hella moves. They did well in the draft, too, especially their top 3 picks, Deontay Banks, John Michael Smith, Jalen Hyatt. They picked up Darren Waller in the offseason. Added our boy Bobby McCain. Hope he starts in the nickel for him so our receivers can abuse him on third down. Dallas Cowboys. They didn't sit on their hands and accept the bullshit from the year before. They went out and got Brandon Cooks. Stephon Gilmore also did well in the draft. And the Eagles, you would have, it's like addition by subtraction because they lost so many people in free agency, but they end up still getting better. They end up adding DeAndre Swift for a bag of chips in a trade with the Detroit Lions and drafting every player on the national championship Georgia Bulldogs roster. Nolan Smith, the best player in the draft, Jalen Carter, because he fell due to unforeseen circumstances in a very tragic situation. And they got Keely Ringo later in that draft. The division's not going anywhere, but the division is the division. And Washington, Dallas, New York, and Philly knows that no one really repeats as division champion in this division. That might change this year, though, because I do still think Philly is just that much better. And Philly is like leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else in the NFC, at least until we know what the fuck is going on with the San Francisco 49ers quarterback position, because Brock Purdy got Tommy John. Trey Lance coming back from like 3 broke ankles. And I feel like we might see a significant amount of snaps from Sam Darnold. And if Sam Darnold's going to have a career renaissance anywhere in this league, it's going to be with Kyle Shanahan because he's an offensive guru and an offensive savant. So out of these 17 games, my path to Washington making the postseason and winning 10 games for the first time since the 2012 RG3 rookie season, here's the path to doing so. Win all 4 games from the teams in my first tier. Cardinals, Bears, Falcons, Patriots. Have to win all 4 of those. Have to split games with the next 2 teams, which was the worst record but unforeseen circumstances tier of the Rams and the Broncos. So we're up to 5 wins now. So we need to get 5 more wins out of what's left on this list. You need to split with the Jets and the Seahawks, which are teams with similar trajectories that are better than us. We're up to 6 wins now. How are we getting 4 wins out of the Superiors, and the divisional rivals. I'll tell you how we get 4 more wins out of that. At minimum, we need to split with every team in the division. So our worst we can be in this division is 3-3. A loss and a win versus the Eagles, Cowboys, and Giants. That takes us to 9 wins, and then we have to do the normal Washington thing of winning a fucking game we're not supposed to win. Last year, that game happened to be a divisional game when the 11-0 Eagles invited us down to the link on Monday Night Football. This year, the Niners, the Bills, or the Dolphins need to be beat. I think our best bet would probably be the Dolphins, but we do get the Niners and Bills at home. Oh, no, we get the Niners, Bills, and Dolphins all at home this year. I think our best bet would be Miami because we're not really sure what the health situation of Tua is going to be like. I hope they're at full strength, and I love Tua. That's my guy, but one of those teams. So our path to 10 wins and winning 10 games for the first time in 11 seasons is beat the Cardinals, Bears, Falcons, and Patriots. Split with the Rams and Broncos. Split with the Jets and Seahawks. Beat one of 4 teams, Niners, Bills, and Dolphins. And we need to split with the division. We need to at least, at minimum, split with the entire division, the NFC East. That is our path to 10 wins in the 2023 season. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. It could always, the NFL is a tricky situation. It can always go 1,000,001 different ways, but I feel like the most opportune way for Washington to get the 10 wins is to do what I say so. But you know how the NFL works. A shit team ends up being good. A good team ends up being shit. People get hurt, and the parity of the league is absolutely crazy. Each week, the worst team in the NFL could beat the best team because Sundays are a fucking reality show, and I cannot wait to get to it. Another season of NFL football as the schedule will be released this Thursday night. I cannot wait to see it. You know, NFL social media teams, they go crazy with these schedule announcements. I saw anime announcements, 90s nostalgia. Last year, Washington did the Rage Room announcement of the schedule. I'm excited to see what Washington does and the league. I'll be scrolling through every team's social media feed to see who has the best schedule release. But that's all I got for right now. Until next time, hail to the Washington Commanders.